Hello again. It is day 2 of 365 raw voice note type podcast episodes about my experience going through this abandoning or releasing the uncertainty and believing fully that my success is inevitable and suspending disbelief. It wasn't coming to my brain. That's the name of the podcast. I just can't remember it. This is actually my third attempt to record this. As I'm recording, we are coming up to the end of Mercury retrograde. Tomorrow is the official end, although I know very well that we tend to have about 2 weeks of Mercury retrograde shadow, which is sometimes more potent for people than the actual days of the retrograde itself. So not counting our ducks yet, or whatever the phrase is. So I had a couple of things that I had already gone through. I'm going to try to re-go through them, and a new one that came to light just simply by the fact that this is my third attempt to try to record this. The first one I recorded the whole thing, except I didn't hit record and I thought I did. The second one, I was about 3 minutes into it and there was a nearby train that just blew its horn like 20 times in a row. My Google started talking to me, and then was like, while I was talking about Mercury retrograde, trying to ignore it, it started telling me about Mercury retrograde, and it was just ridiculous. So I was like, enough, I'm just going to start over again. So all of that to say, the realization that I wanted to add in, and I'm going to talk about it first so I don't forget, is that these types of things are the energetic fallout of making a big decision, like the one that we've made by accepting this sort of challenge. I don't know why I'm calling it a challenge. It's not official or anything, but just by deciding so certainly, there are parts of our lives that will kind of crumble, or there will be some challenges that arise to try to delay us a little bit, to try to almost test our resolve. And I don't think that it's necessarily a test, but I did mention yesterday how, if you decide to do this with me, if you decide to get on board, be prepared for that there might be some parts of your life that fall apart a little bit, some parts that crumble away that no longer align with who you're becoming, and some challenges that will get thrown up just as a way to make sure that you're completely on board. So anyways, all of that said, I do think that was kind of like the fact that I had to start over for a third time. It was just a reminder of like, how much do you really want this, Brianna? How much are you willing to put into it? Are you like, I said I was going to record every single day. I made that promise to myself and to you. And so I'm doing it and I don't care. I was very frustrated, I'll admit, when the first time didn't actually record. The second time was just laughable and hilarious. So here we go. We're on the third. I want to point out that if my audio sounds different, it's because I am experimenting, which is also why I forgot to hit record. I'm experimenting with an app on my phone just to see if I can make it a little bit more simple for me to just record on the go, in the moments when I have those moments throughout my day, instead of having to set up my podcasting equipment and whatnot. The sound may not be perfect, but if I can make it easier, then I will be more likely to succeed and keep it up, right? Doing one every day. So giving this a try. If the sound is atrocious, I won't do it again. but we shall see. Now, the things that I wanted to share today. First of all, yesterday I mentioned that I would read my scripting to you guys as an example. However, I'm not going to do that today because the way that my day turned out, just the amount of things that ended up being heaped on my plate, my internet has been out, Mercury retrograde again, right? Things like this, I just have not gotten it done. So I will share that tomorrow when I'm complete with it. However, I did have a couple of things that were, to me, very noticeable today after having made the decision yesterday. So, and when I say made the decision, I mean like made the decision that my success is inevitable, that I am sticking to that in 1 year from today, it is going to look a certain way and all of that. Okay. So the two experiences that I had today, one was a healing session that I had, scheduled in advance. Like it was scheduled quite a while back. And it ended up being very much an energetic alignment session. I was very much leveled up, I would say, energetically. And I'm exhausted right now because of it. Like there was so much that got, some was healed, some was like new information was accessed that I hadn't had access to before, type of thing. So doing that energetic work, doing my healing work, doing my exploration of my inner self so that I can grow, right? But it was a really incredible experience where I actually felt the manifestations move from the spiritual realm or the, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, and like kind of click into place. I felt them like coming into the physical realm, into the 3D world. And it just, I've never experienced anything like it. And to be honest, I have never heard of anyone experiencing anything like it. Although I don't think that I'm unique. I'm sure there are people who have felt it, but I could feel my manifestations going from that insubstantial energy into the substantial. And it was the most incredible thing. It was absolutely fascinating. I'll have to try to describe it better maybe at another time, but it was incredible. And I really think that shift happened partially because of the amazing healer I was working with, and partially because of the fact that I had so firmly decided the day before, right, that I was shifting into this. And so I was ready for that shift and had someone who was capable of helping me through that shift work with me. Okay. So, I want to be cognizant of this being more of a journal type thing and not an advertising type thing. So I'm not going to name names here. If you are ever curious who I was working with, I'm happy to talk about it outside of this podcast and you can reach out to me. She's incredible. I love touting other people's work, so I don't want to not share, but at the same time, I'm not doing this to advertise for anyone. So, if you are looking for some healing work, for some alignment work like that, just reach out. Now, so that was shift number one that I really noticed today that I thought was super powerful and impactful, and I believe is a direct result of my energetic decidedness from yesterday. The second thing that happened today, and this one might be a little bit hard to connect the dots for some people, but hopefully by the end of my explanation, you'll understand. I went to pick up my son from school today, and at some point throughout the day, the zipper on his backpack had ripped, and he was super upset about it. And now my son, I'm pretty sure, is a little bit autistic. We haven't got that diagnosed yet, but there are some things that I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, he struggles to articulate his feelings. So he has fantastic language skills and he speaks very well and he can articulate himself well and he can read and write and all these things. But he really struggles to articulate feelings. And so I went to pick him up and he was even smiling when I saw him walking out the door. But as soon as he like saw me and shifted and kind of like moved to the side away from his teacher, his face completely shifted and he went from seeming okay to angry. And I mean, he was really angry and I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know his backpack was broken at this point. I didn't know anything. And he started crying and he was like super upset. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And with him, I always try with children not to put words in their mouths, but with him, I almost need to, like, he's, like I said, he has a really hard time articulating those feelings. So I was asking him things like, and he did tell me that it had to do with his backpack zipper, but I was like, all right, were you worried that I was going to be mad at you? Like, I'm not mad. It's okay. Like, I know you didn't mean to, and it's fine. Like, and that wasn't getting me anywhere. And I all of a sudden got the nudge to, and when I say nudge, I mean like an intuitive nudge, a download, whatever you want to call it, a little push to tell him, like, don't worry, I'll buy you a new backpack. And I will be honest that, like, financially right now, the like $20 to $40 that a backpack would cost feels stretchy. And, you know, I don't have the rent set aside for the end of the month. I don't have all my bills paid. I don't have, you know, whatever. And I know that $20 to $40 doesn't seem like a huge amount of money, but when, as most of us who have ever experienced being broke know, when you're in a certain point financially, it can feel like the tipping point, right? The amount that doesn't quite get you to where you need to be if you spend it or whatever. So many times in the past, I probably would have not offered to buy a new one yet and just said, like, we will, you know, we'll use another bag or whatever for now until mama can buy one. But I was nudged to just say, it's okay. Like, I will buy you a new one. And it was like a switch went off for him. I think that he had, you know, he's brilliant. He has a brilliant mind. And so I think that he had already kind of intuited that, financially it might be a stretch for me to buy him a backpack, because there are times where I'm like, I just don't have money to buy that thing for you right now, guys, or, you know, whatever. So I think he might have assumed that I wouldn't be able to. And like I said, previous me probably would have just chosen not to because of, you know, whatever fears, internal fears of not being able to come up with the money by the end of the month. But anyways, as soon as I said that, there was a complete shift in him. He was so angry. He was like huffing and going at me and crying, like I said. And this was still like right in front of the school doors. Like, he just broke right down. And I have to, the reason that I am connecting the two, one is that I had made that decision that, like, my success is inevitable. Therefore, I can afford a backpack, whether that's $15, $20, $30, $40. I can afford a backpack. End of story. I can come up with that money. The other is that I really felt in that moment when his mood switched, I really felt the ripple of the generational beliefs, the limiting beliefs that we can pass on if we're not careful, the ones that we've maybe received from previous generations. And it really, I felt that like break in the chain a little bit, where it was like what I just did just there that told him that this thing that he was so concerned about was important and that I was going to make it happen, gave him permission to not have a limiting money belief going forward in the future, based around this incident, which was very traumatic to him. Having his zipper broke really was very upsetting for him. For some reason, it just was a huge deal. And so, I'm very, very grateful, first of all, that I listened to the nudge, that I tune into my intuition, that I had made the decision yesterday that this is my new story and that I am going to be successful no matter what, and that this will be fine, so that I could prevent a money story for my child. So, and I really did feel that piece like click into place again. It was a very concrete thing that I was able to feel again, where I could just sense the break that I had caused in the chain there, that I wasn't passing on a belief. So I thought both of those experiences, it may have seemed small. There was no, money added to my bank account, whatever, but I felt that they were very, very aligned to what decision was made yesterday. And therefore, I thought would be important to share on this podcast. Now I've gone a little bit over my 15-minute goal, so I'm going to cut this off, and I will be back tomorrow, very, very hopefully, with my script to read to you guys as an example of what that may look like. And if you've listened, thank you. And if you're sticking with this challenge, I believe in you. I love you. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow.